This is the Domino Theory. I'm your host, Rick Doherty, joined today by Brian from Play Music on the Porch Day. Brian, thank you so much for making some time for us.
Hey, Rick, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So, this is such a fun concept, what you are trying to do here with Play Music on the Porch Day. So, why don't you let everybody know just what's the concept? What are you trying to do to sort of create a worldwide community?
Well, I'm an artist, and I sort of realized that when you collaborate on a project with someone, you kind of have this forever bond with that person, when you work to them on creating a piece of art. So I was thinking, how big of a collaboration could I build? And that's kind of where I came up with the idea. And I tested a few other ideas, and the idea of playing music on the porch went pretty viral the first year, which was really exciting. I mean, much smaller than it is now, but it was enough for me to know that, okay, this will really work. And so I spent the next year really pushing it, and it's been growing since then. But I really think that when you work together on a project with someone, it connects you in a way that it builds a strong bond, you know? And what if we could do that on an international way?
So, what is the point of Play Music on the Porch Day? What is the message that you are trying to get out there and the bond that you are trying to create? Because I think everybody can agree that now more than ever, it is an
Yeah.
important time to share that message.
Yeah, I think, it seems like this impossible road we're headed down where there's so much division that we have to recognize that there is a way forward, that we can work together. I mean, anybody who's been in a band knows that you can create cool stuff with people you really disagree with. I mean, it's kind of every musician knows that. So I think we can come together for this one moment and create something and just sort of recognize our own humanity, around the world, that we're all just here together for this moment, and we have the potential of doing wonderful things. And if we can, I kind of came up with the phrase, what if for one day everything stopped and we all just listened to the music, as sort of my guiding phrase or whatever, and people resonate with it. I think everybody wants the same thing, you know? So we can do it one day, maybe just a little bit better, just a little way forward.
I think this is one of the things that I love about music is that at its best, obviously at its worst, it can be just as divisive as any other medium, right?
Yep.
It can definitely, sow hate. It can definitely promote conflict and things like that. However, at its best, music is definitely something that does promote peace, promote unity, give voices to people who might not have a voice otherwise. I recently talked to somebody, she's doing a documentary about Irish American folk music, and it's different from traditional Irish music. And she's finding these enclaves where working class people were sharing their lives. They didn't document it in books, they didn't document it in, any other form, but she found out about their lives through the music. And right now she's working on a major documentary about Irish American folk music. And I think it's one of the areas where not only can working people have a voice, marginalized groups have a voice, but it's also a way that people can rise up out of those situations and have their voice be heard. I mean, if you look at somebody like Bob Dylan, who came up from middle class upbringing in the middle of Minnesota. And he went on to have a huge impact, was honored by the president, has a Nobel Prize. You look at somebody like John Lennon when you're talking about promoting peace. John Lennon came up from working class background, used music to get a platform, and then when he had this platform, he used it to promote these values that if you just have the wealthy, the people who are inheriting things, if they're the only ones making policy or having a voice, you're not going to hear some of these things as well. Tupac Shakur, I mean, you can just go down the list of
Yeah.
people who used music to enhance their voice. So, what do you think about that and this legacy of music being a way for people to say things that people might not listen to any other way?
Well, I think we're at an interesting time where I feel like we're searching for that leader, that villain, that Tupac to kind of show us something. But I think it's us now. It's each of us. You know what I mean? We have to be that person, and and I think that's sort of what works about this project. You know, it's the combination, these combined voices. It's not one person leading it. It's all the voices and all the people coming together and putting themselves into it. And I do think that that's how it's going to be from now on. We're not going to be looking for these. We're not going to be finding these saviors in a way, you know, because we're all flawed human beings and we're all imperfect, and we sort of deify these people in a way, and no one can actually meet up to it in this world, you know. So it has to sort of fall on each of us to move the ball forward just a little bit, as much as we can, you know, towards something better. And I think, you know, that's what makes this project, what I really love about this project is people understand it and they take the ball and run with it. You know what I mean? I kind of provided instructions with how this works, and I provided a day. And then people take it and run and they do their own thing with it and they bring their own voice to it. And I don't say we all have to sing this song or these are all the rules. You know, everybody is bringing their own personality, their own background, singing their own songs, bringing their own culture, whatever they want to it, which I feel is more of a contemporary way of moving forward. You know, all of us bringing what it is about us that makes us human to the party. You know what I mean? And recognizing that that guy over there. I always find it fascinating when you're watching people play guitar or stringed instruments in general. Stringed instruments kind of are the beginning of this whole thing, but you see the person suddenly get lost in their playing. And it doesn't matter what instrument they're playing, that state that you can see in their eyes, you can see them click into it, is universal. And anybody that plays a stringed instrument recognizes that, you know, and there's that connection there. That's what I'm hoping for, you know. It's not one song or one word or one person. You know, it's that shared moment that I think matters.
Absolutely. And I know that you mentioned something, for example, like there's not going to be that savior anymore, that Dylan, that Tupac, that John Lennon. Go down the list, Woody Guthrie, all of the greats, right?
Yes.
And I think I might want to push back on that a little bit because
Okay.
yes, we have a little bit of gray in our beards, right? You know, you can see that on the video. And
Yeah.
I think that we might look back at some of these people, whether it be, you know, from my teenage years and somebody like Kurt Cobain or Eddie Vedder. And, you know, you go even a little further back with Dylan, with John Lennon.
Yeah.
And we think of these people as being bigger than life and standing for the right things. And then we get a little older and we think, well, where's the next one of them? But we don't realize they're out there right now. It's just they're not speaking to us because we're not the current generation anymore, right? But
Yeah,
I have noticed that there are a lot of amazing artists that are still out there and they are making their voices heard. Just in October of last year, I saw Lord again, and
yeah,
she does not shy away from talking about
no,
important issues and trying to unite people around issues surrounding peace, and not just peace as a political issue, but inner peace and things like that. Billie Eilish. Like, we can talk about a lot of these artists. Cardi B. Like, these aren't necessarily always the types of artists to whom I would listen on a
yeah,
daily
yeah,
basis, but I do think that for all the slack sometimes us older guys give the up and coming generations, I do think that they are out there and they care. And I'm wondering, are you seeing a lot of younger people trying to take part in play music on the porch day?
um, I would like to add "Hooray for the Riff Raff" to that list, by the way. I've been really obsessing with that band.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, um, I'm not seeing as many young people, but I think I'm an old guy, so the things I create seem to pull people my age into it. You know what I mean? So I am hoping that as I move forward, it can grow on its own. I can grow it where I can grow it. But the language you use, the medium you use is sort of age appropriate. And getting out
Right.
beyond that is a trick. But I'm hoping that the idea jumps physical borders. You know what I mean? It jumps into other countries, it jumps into other places. So I'm hoping it also crosses these other borders as well at some point. I'm working on it.
I think that, as we mentioned, the gray in our beards and things like that, we are acknowledging that when we think of this concept, we're thinking of guitars. We're thinking of that classic folk tradition of,
Yep.
sitting there maybe with a guitar, a fiddle, a harmonica, and some of these more portable instruments. But one of the things
Yeah.
that the younger generation also has is some of the newer technologies have been a harm for music, but they've also democratized music a lot, because you now have the younger generations, you know, just playing music on the porch isn't that outrageous to them because they're recording albums in their, you know, living rooms. They're
Yeah.
recording albums in their bedrooms, right? So I think that this is something that could end up picking up more with younger generations
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
of how the
I think
technology has changed things.
and I'm an artist and I have the ultimate faith in artists. And I believe that no matter what the technology is, no matter what the instrument is, there's going to be an artist that's going to pick it up and do it their own way. You know what I mean? They're going to interpret this and go, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to do it. Well, I'm going to do it my way." And I always enjoy that. And I do feel like there are no obstacles for artists. Artists see obstacles as challenge, or they see rules, or they see boundaries as challenges. So even if they're seeing this and thinking, like harmonica and, porch style traditional Americana instruments and stuff, I think there's going to be artists that are going to go, "Oh, I'm going to bring my voice to this." And I know
Absolutely.
it. Like I said, I have ultimate faith in other artists. So
No, that's great. And I love that viewpoint on everything. So when you do this personally,
yeah.
is this picking up a guitar? Are you, doing some cover songs? Are you doing your original songs? Like, what's the art that you bring to this?
I try to play an original song every year. And I'll usually have some event or I show up at some other place for it. The unfortunate part of it is I end up spending most of my day on social media. So I created something that's really fun for everybody else but me. So I'm trying to figure out how that won't be that way in the future. But for now, it's a lot of approving stuff and, going through stuff and making sure there's no spam and sharing stuff and answering questions. But like I said, I usually get out there. Maybe I'll have some friends over. We've had friends over a couple times. We had a neighborhood, we had a really big neighborhood event one time. I work with a guy in Zimbabwe that was a part of this from the beginning. He's in a band called Guavedze. His name's Tinashe. And he and I have become very, very close. So we've done things where we bring his band live to the event, so in Los Angeles, like he'll be playing in Zimbabwe. And so, meeting him has been just extraordinary. We talk almost daily. He's a part of this, doing all kinds of stuff. He helps me we've started doing little mini documentary videos about, so many interesting people that I've met over the years. So we're sort of picking out people one by one and doing little mini documentaries about them. So the people I meet has been a wonderful side of this. Like there's a guy in Uzbekistan. Oh man, who's the guy? What's the anyway? But we talk trucks. We talk old trucks. I have an old FJ40, and we'll sit here. We'll talk about old Toyotas. Just and it's been just wonderful connecting to these with people. There's a place. There's an instrument called a sasanda, and it's a tube harp. It's a round harp, and they only play it in. There's different styles of it in a couple different places, but the sasanda in particular is in a place called Rhode Island in Indonesia. And I'm talking to her about the instrument, and she's like, "You just got to come visit. You can come stay with us." And the warmth is amazing. People around the world are just so wonderful. And it's been fantastic having you get in this zone when you're working on the project where everyone is so nice. It's a little bit of a shock coming out of it after I'm, really deep in it for a couple months here, and then come back to the real world and it's like, oh God. But
I
we're working on getting that.
100% understand that getting back into the real world aspect of it. When you talk about some of these stories, I think a lot about Glenn Hansard. We just lost Glenn Hansard not that
Yeah,
long ago. And this is an artist that I saw a few times live in concert. When you talk about playing music on the porch, he started as a busker in
yep,
Dublin, and he started just, playing music on Grafton Street, right off Grafton Street. And I think that a lot of us who knew Glenn Hansard thought he was kind of this underground indie artist. Like we thought we had discovered something that was hidden. And then all of a sudden
yeah,
we find out when he passed away that, you know, Bono's at his funeral, right? Like he was this huge
yeah,
international star, and I don't think anybody realized it. And that's one of the things that music can do, that you can have somebody who still feels like you have a connection. It's not necessarily parasocial, it's something different than that. It's
yeah,
a relationship with you that you have with these people because of the art that they create. And sometimes you don't even realize that it's not as personal as you think, and that there are more people sharing this experience than you thought in the first place. So I am a novice when it comes to playing music, right? I
oh
can
great,
play a little guitar, but I
yeah, yeah,
haven't played in years.
yeah,
I have some drums. I have, and not drums like Neil Peart drums, like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, nobody
drums
has.
that I can just hit in the hands, right? I
Yeah,
can play a little harmonica, but I'm not going to be able to sit out there on the porch on August 29th and play a whole song. I might be able
That's,
to find somebody who knows how to play guitar and maybe we could do a whole song together. But
yeah,
do you have to be somebody who, is in a band, who has released an album to take part in this? Or
yeah,
can people who are novices just get a couple bongos, get a drum, get a kazoo, whatever it is, and just take part?
yes, absolutely. There's one of my favorite stories is there's a woman who told me that on Play Music on the Porch Day, she takes her guitar and she hikes up into the mountain, just plays in the woods. She doesn't record it and anything. And I think that's as much of the spirit as this as anything else. And like you're saying, you can play a few chords, but you enjoy it. And you can sit out in the backyard and you can play with those chords and you can look up some songs and you can, and you can try learning a few things and just be outside and knowing that you're a part of this. You know what I mean? And that's where it matters. So if you get out there, you're just sitting alone by yourself, you got a little songbook in front of you of campfire songs and you're plucking through them, trying to remember the stuff you learned 20 years ago or whatever, and singing the best you can, you'll recognize that it's the strangest thing. You do recognize that you're participating in it. One of the reasons I kept doing it after I did it the first year, I wasn't really sure if it worked. And I was at a party, and a guy that I knew came up to me and he's like, I didn't really understand what you were doing. And then I got out there, and he's a ukulele player. Like I got out there and I was playing, and I suddenly realized that, there's somebody in Brazil and somebody in Madagascar that's doing this at the same time. And I really understood the connection that you were talking about. And when he said that, it was moving to me because it's like, as an artist, you want your vision to actually be reconnect, and it did. And he described exactly what I wanted to. So if you go out there and you do it, I think you will recognize that you're a part of it. And I also have a lot of people who say, I hadn't played in a long time and I wanted to participate this year. So I really sat down over the year and relearned my instrument. Or I'd never played an instrument before. And now I can play something enough to get through a song on that day. And that means the world to me. I mean, that's everything right there. So
Fantastic. Yeah, you love to hear that. And I do think that when we talk about the newest generation and some of the younger people, because of how much the internet, especially, but I think society and the workforce in general has turned everybody's hobbies into side hustles, right? So if you
yeah,
play
yeah,
guitar, you have to try to find a way to make some money off of it. If you paint, you have to find a way to paint things that you can sell. If knit,
yeah,
you're trying to knit things, right? And I think the younger generation is really embracing having a hobby and being bad at it. Like you don't
yeah,
have to be Jimi Hendrix when you start playing guitar. If you just want to strum three chords and not even that well, that's okay. If it's
yeah,
something that calms you down at the end of the day at work, like you don't have to be a great guitar player to play guitar. You don't
no,
have to be a great pianist to play the keyboards. If it's something that you just want to do and something that makes you feel relaxed, you have fun doing it, just do it. And
yeah,
don't worry about, how it sounds to others because we are allowed to have hobbies that don't define us as our careers.
yeah. I have a lot of faith in the younger generation. I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they are so open to all styles of music, all eras. They aren't set up like, oh, this is who I am. Not as much tied to their identity. like it was for me. It's like, oh, I'm a punk rocker. I'm gonna listen to punk rock. Everything else is bad. You know what I mean? They are open to Frank Sinatra. They're open to all this world music I'm bringing in. They're open to dance music and folk music, and to them, it's just music. And they're just, I find them just open to people a lot more. Them and their friends. They have a wide variety of friends, and there's no, there's not the baggage that I feel like I grew up with. I grew up in a smaller town. That might be part of it, but I do feel like people are just more accepting. Younger people are just more accepting of everything. So I do look forward to what they're going to bring, and how things, what the future is going to look like.
In just the last few minutes that we have together here, who are some of your favorite artists? Who are the musicians who made you say, I want to not only listen to this,
Yeah.
I want to partake in this. I want to pick up a guitar. I want to pick up a bass. I want to do this as, something more than a hobby. Who are some of the artists that really inspired you?
Well, there's like the big ones, like the Replacements were life changing for me, and Fugazi. But I think, as far as actually playing, my brother is a machine of a songwriter. He's been writing songs since he was probably 12 years old. So I grew up with this constant songwriting happen, to the point where my parents were like, we got to get this kid out of the basement, and he is, I can't imagine how many songs he's written. And then I was in the military, and my friend in the military his name was Rory O'Donnell. It still is. He's still like one of my best friends. And he was in a band, and he took me to band practice, and it was like one, two, three, and all of a sudden they started playing this song, and something there clicked to me, like these are just regular people. You know what I mean? It
Right.
was like I knew that all along. I knew these bands that I liked were people, but once I was in the room where they were making the music and I saw it happen, that was life changing. And I already knew that songwriting was a possibility because it was almost to the point of being annoying growing up. you know. But yeah, I think those moments when it was real, um, really, really impacted me. But I can't say. I mean, the Replacements I just can't deny. But when I listen to them, and the Cars were, like, oh my God, what is this? I've never heard anything like this. And the Replacements were like that. Fugazi was like that. Wilco's been like that. Hooray for the Riff Raff, Lucinda Williams. It's a pretty darn long. The Beatles, of course, and like, I was never a Fleetwood Mac person growing up, and all of a sudden I'm obsessed with Fleetwood Mac for a long phase. Woody Guthrie, it's a long list.
I love that you mentioned Fugazi because I feel like Play Music on the Porch Day is such a Fugazi vibe, right? It's this
Yeah,
DIY, it's just get out there, hang upside down from the basketball hoop, and just
yeah,
scream your music out loud to everybody
yeah.
and don't deny, any of your creativity. And I think you're really picking up where they started in trying to do this because I never really put two and two together. But the second that you mentioned Fugazi, I was like, this is exactly what Fugazi would do if they were starting out right now, I think. And that's
Yeah.
such a great connection to the music. So, Brian, just make your last pitch. August 29th, play music on the porch day. What do you want people to do? Not just, obviously, you want them to play music on the porch, but how can they share it with other people? How can they post about it on social media? Go through all of that stuff right now.
Do all that. Bring your creativity to it. Bring your own ideas to it. Each of you have social circles. Each of you have places that you can tell people about. Post on your social media. Put it on local boards. Put up posters. Whatever you can do. Everybody's original ideas is what makes it grow. You know, everybody's bringing their own thoughts to it, their own how that what they think it should be, or how they think it should grow. And you know, that's how I learn too. I see people do something new, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, you know, and I follow that. So I mean, you know, take it to your library, take it to your kid's school, you know, your neighborhood council, your the next party you go to, talk about it. You know, it's really just reaching out, and you know, it's a lot of people use it for fundraisers too. So you know, there's a guy that gives away guitars, and there's all different things where they're hosting a group and they're raising money for the homeless or something. You know, so there's sort of it's creating this next level of good, which I love. You know.
Absolutely. Getting back to Glenn Hansard and
Yeah.
how he had that Christmas Eve busk that they did every year in Dublin,
Yep.
and he did it to raise money for the homeless. And
Yep.
when he passed, there were shelters that said, you don't realize how many people have been saved because one night a year he did that. And
Yeah.
that's the vibe you're trying to bring here. Just one night a year, everybody play music and do something positive in a world that has become more and more negative each and every day. So,
Yeah.
August 29th, play music on the porch day. Please, everyone, get involved, share it, talk about it. Maybe next year, if everybody shares about it this year, Brian won't have to spend the whole day on social media and it'll just sort of take off on its own and he can focus on doing what he loves, which is playing music. So,
Yep.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a fun conversation.
It was really wonderful. I really enjoyed meeting you, and I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thank you so much.
August 29th of 2026. That is Play Music on the Porch Day. One of the things I loved about my conversation with Brian is that he took his passion, which was music, and he said, how can I use what I love and turn it into a positive force, not just for me, not just for my immediate friends and family, but try to make this thing global. And that's what I've always tried to do, whether it was my passion for theme parks on Tall Guy Talks Travel, or now on the Domino Theory when it's my passion for history and pop culture. And I am trying to build something positive. For 5.5 years, Tall Guy Talks Travel has been all about inclusion and about trying to help people. Now, on the Domino Theory, we want to keep those vibes going. I'm going to be honest with you. The trolls have started to find me more and more on social media as I have tried to grow the Domino Theory YouTube channel. So, do me a favor, show the trolls they're never going to win. We are going to outnumber them. We're not going to get into the gutter and we're not going to get into fights with them. We are just going to overpower them with positivity and looking to make an actual difference in the world instead of just threatening people on the internet while we wait for mom to bring down more Pop Tarts to the basement, right? So do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, like this video and drop a positive comment on it, but also head to the Tall Guy Talks Travel YouTube channel. Watch as many videos as you can. Click the like button, drop positive comments, and subscribe to both channels. We can make a positive difference. We can build an uplifting community. We can shut up the trolls. So do all those things, and I'll talk to you soon.